Anthony writes, what are both of your thoughts on the chances of getting a hashtag Me Too case? Is this a big problem when dealing with women, or is it blown out of proportion?
Yeah, that's a fear of a lot of men. I think obviously the targets of Me Too are successful men. So it's typically if you're non-successful, say for instance, some of these people are getting 45-year Me Too, and you reached the age of 65 or 70 and you're a loser, you're not getting one, right? But let's just say you actually become someone, then the likelihood of that happening is high. It could be happening for your own family. I think there's a
Damn, your own family?
Ricky Martin. What's the guy name from Menudo? Ricky Martin, if I'm not saying this right. He supposedly has some sort of thing with a male cousin. It's out of control. And so this might have happened 25 years ago.
Out of control.
So it's situations like that. If you're a nobody, I wouldn't worry about it. If you aspire to achieve to be a nobody, I wouldn't worry about it. However, if you think you're going to be somebody in the future, I would plan accordingly.
I agree with you there. I think the truth is that, number one, hashtag Me Too is a social media creation. It's a media thing. So the news bases their revenue on jarring, sensational titles and topics that get your attention. So you tend to think these things occur more than they actually do. Just like, people going Kyle Rittenhouse, yeah. Like, you think it occurs all the time. When you look at the data, it's actually extremely rare. And I think that's true of the hashtag Me Too in reality. There are some folks who are quite criminal and they're guilty of what they've been accused of. You know what I mean?
So some of them are guilty.
Right. But in reality, I think that if you're a man who is wise, you became wealthy because you are wise, you have the discernment to select between women. For example, recently at patreon.com/thesaintinthe center, I published a player story where a chick had said something that let me know straight away, like, you would be the type to hashtag Me Too a brother like me. So I moved her out of the way ASAP.
Right.
And that's the first time I've encountered a woman of that nature in my entire year, all my years of operating. And I got her out the way ASAP. So there's a certain wisdom that comes with that. And the key is, like, watch the company you keep and also make sure that the people around you have love in their hearts, not envy.
Sure.
Because you don't need them setting you up.
Yeah, and there's some people there's some people, men and women, that can come with that as well. I think one more thing I want to add to that is the context is always different as well. So context does change over time, but also because the act could have been consensual, or they could keep the information out. Let's say, for instance, hey, Quaaludes. Everybody, he gave him Quaaludes. Well, that was the party drug. That's like them saying you gave him Molly or weed.
Yeah.
Okay, this is in our culture.
They probably asked for him.
And they probably asked for him. And I don't know about you. It's not that often that I'm around celebrities, but women keep finding themselves around celebrities. Isn't that interesting?
Magically.
I mean, so why were they there? And so when you bring up these questions, then they say hashtag believe all women. You can't ask any questions. So what I'm telling guys is context. In our time, it's 5 years ago, you could have said, I gave my girl a model and she didn't know it. Guess what?
Right.
You can't do that today.
Right.
So now, when you apply a different context or a different time and you have a different generation looking back, I actually find it interesting. Young people look at Eminem and they're going to dissect this music like crazy. Well, I'm like, wasn't he relevant 10 years ago? And he wasn't. It was 25 years ago. And the new generation is now looking at what he said.
Right.
So that's what's going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have a different context. They're applying what was fair in your time, and it's now foul in a different context. So you do have to worry about that if you are somebody of substance.
I think that if you're someone of substance playing the game at the boss level, you've made appropriate plans.
Sure. Absolutely.
One thing, shout out to Hunter Biden, who's a total dirtbag. Shout out to dirtbag Hunter Biden, because this is what he did. I want you guys to learn from this. He's broken damn near every law there is to break in terms of civil conduct and criminal conduct.
Absolutely.
Right. And he did it on video camera. Like, he recorded himself like weighing up illicit drugs, but it's okay because he's in the power class.
Yes.
So what my goal is to do is to accumulate wealth and power and organization such that we are the untouchables. We're not the rule followers, but rather the rule makers.
Gosh, I mean, that's you speaking right now. That's exactly what I was talking about that today with my audience. Like, that's where you got to get.
Shout out to the Saint Center Nation. You did. We protected out here. Roberto writes, I love this civil dialogue. Yeah, we actually had a fight before it started. That's why it's civil now. We fought first.
We calmed it down.
That's how we do it. You know what I'm saying? I love this civil dialogue. Leave it up to the viewers to decide what they believe. Yeah, the right one's gonna follow me. The wrong one's gonna follow
Well, you
Coach
know what's
Greg
going to
Adams.
happen. I think what typically happens, there are some people who are more, the message for me is more palpable, probably the majority of the audience, right? And then they're going to find that your stuff is something that they can digest. I think ultimately what happens is, our audience is mixed.
Right,
You know what I mean?
absolutely,
People watch me,
absolutely.
and then as soon as I'm done, they'll go over and watch
Yeah,
you. So they'll take a little bit from me and a little
yeah.
bit for you and create their own philosophy. This is kind of how I came about.
Mhm.
I came in under, hey, this is what I needed.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, I need a little bit more.
Yeah,
Right. So that's probably what
yeah. I agree with you there. Piece to the Saints questions. I have come across a woman that was raised a Jehovah's Witness, a sheltered life. She's 26, beautiful, Mexican traditional. I'm in Texas. How do I shield her from modern day corruption? You cannot.
Jesus Christ. So we call this the hope strategy. You know what I mean? These people are throwing hope at the board. And so a lot of
Dang.
guys that think, that we
Uh-huh.
don't have this ism over
Yeah.
here. We got the
Yeah.
ism. You live in the hope strategy, man. Come on, man. Essentially what's happening is the modern world is corrupt. All right. The modern world is out to corrupt your women. Even if you have daughters, they're out to get your daughters, man. They're out for your children. So they're out to corrupt the mindset of all women. And if you bring her into this modern world, what we call the Western world or America, the great Babylon, she's going to get destroyed and manipulated. And listen, Eddie Murphy said this in his stand-up back in the day where he brought Umfufu over and
Oh,
then he
right.
came
Yeah,
over
yeah,
and
yeah.
then she started kicking with the American
Right.
women. Eventually that's going to happen. She's already been sheltered. So I think that's a red flag. All right. She's going to want to see what them streets is about at some particular point. If in certain situations she's going to get tempted. And now you gotta probably try to mitigate that disaster or that damage.
I think you rightly assess that he is seeking to continue keeping the wool
Shelter.
over her eyes,
Correct.
which is not going to work.
That's not going to work.
Never play any game from a position of fear. Always play a game from a position of confidence and utilize the best strategy possible and leave everything on the field. That's in life in general. She's truly adopted those values of a Jehovah's Witness. These are fairly conservative people. I actually know a young lady who was obsessed with your boy in high school, a little thick, little red bone named Rebecca. Shout out, baby, if you're watching. They actually excommunicated her out the church.
For messing with you?
Nah, she couldn't mess with the. She wasn't qualified.
Okay.
Yeah, she wasn't on the level, but they excommunicated her because she ended up getting pregnant by some cat, right? So they excommunicated
that'll
her.
do it.
Yeah, and clearly, I wasn't about to be one of those types, going in there raw, end up like Willie Lump. So, but the point is this. That's a very conservative practice, just as the Mormons are. So if she grew up and she actually subscribed to those values, nothing on the outside can shake that which is inside if it's real. You see, you don't put a Mormon in a crack house and they just start sniffing crack.
Right.
It's
going to take some time. If it gets there. I lived in Salt Lake City, so I lived in there for a short period. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. So which is to say that if you put a good person in a bad situation, they're not going to become that situation.
Sure.
Certainly females are creatures who are, subject to influence, but the key is to make sure that you keep her in the proper society. I think you'll be all right if that's really who she is. Some people are raised within these religious communities and that's not really who they are.
Correct. That was going to say that
Yeah.
as you were speaking that. I was like, well, sometimes a teenager is just following because of the family's following, right? And they really want to break out from that. And so that would be common. Maybe she was raised that way and she believes that that's not her belief system. So you could have one of those as well.
Yeah. I like the fundamentals. She says she's Mexican too. That's a plus.
Sometimes when I'm talking. Yeah.
Jabari writes, what are your thoughts on men going to other countries for love? I was just waiting. I was waiting for it for
That's
love.
an option.
But
for
knowing
love,
that
yes,
all
for
women
love.
aren't different, but move differently.
I don't disagree with going to other countries. I don't know about for love.
Yeah, that
I mean,
part killed
for
me.
love, I think people do find that they go over there and they find people that will use love as a way to attach to you. But what they're doing is guarding. Essentially, they're trying to not let other people next to you. They'll follow you around like a kitten. They'll give you pedicures and manicures and massages, and it simply boils down to the economy. It's economics. You're a damn wallet to them. So
Jehu writes, the best solution is to find a young, fertile woman outside of the United States, preferably UAE, Philippines, Iran, and Singapore. Bruh, I'm not signing off on UAE. Maybe in Abu Dhabi, but in Dubai, nah, I'm out, bro. I can't sign off on that one, Playboy. Nah, some of the most materialistic Muslims I've
We
ever
always talk.
seen.
Yeah, I was just talking about that. I was like, boy, you're gonna
Yeah.
have better have big bank account.
The tremendous like
Tremendous.
bank
Like,
accounts.
yeah, that guys in America don't understand that.
Right.
I'm
That's
like, because I
different.
talk about Middle Eastern women, and I'm like, you got to have money, but money in a sense that you don't understand.
Right.
It's you don't understand the money. It's money you would don't have in bank accounts, like that type of money.
And the trippy thing is if you're gonna go get one of those niqabis, in Islam, it says that a woman is not required to spend any money. And if she
Mm,
is to earn money, she can keep it wholly for herself.
mm.
So the money got to be different